Hey there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Great to see you again. Yeah, 2022 is off to a rough start. Got a little drone footage today and got the drone up and got it out there and got a high wind warning. And it's kind of scary because I wasn't sure where the drone was. And it said can't return to home because of high wind warning. So that wasn't good. But I managed to get it back, and that's great. Not spectacular footage, but it was fun to get out there and do something. I thought it might be interesting to talk about 2021 in review. And if you've been following the channel, you know I used Fuji for most of 2021 APS-C. And towards the end of 2021, I picked up Nikon. And when I don't shoot, I had a big push towards Christmas time to get all the box sets out, the folio sets, my 2021 folio set. And I have a few left that, if you subscribe to my Patreon channel, one of the tiers is you can get a box set, and those get shipped out February 1st. So I'm putting together the last few Patreon box sets, and I haven't looked at the box sets in a month or so. And today I got the photos out that I had printed, and I took a moment and I started looking through them. And, when you don't look at the photos and you just look at the gear, like I was pretty convinced that I wanted to keep shooting the Fujis because there's a lot of reasons why I prefer the Fuji system over the Nikon system. But, and I really had myself convinced that I'm just going to carry on with the Fuji system. I'm going to shoot the 4x5 and that'll be great. And, because the X-T4 makes a great video camera with the 4x5. And the X-T4 makes a great video camera with the X-T3 as my stills camera, and it really does. I mean, it's a great system, and the X-T3 is great for stills. And of the photographs that are in my box set, I think there's 10 of them, and eight of them are from the Fujis. And my favorite Fuji photograph from last year was Mount McGowan from Stanley Lake in the mist. I think that's my favorite Fuji photograph of last year. And what's interesting is you go through the photographs, and the first 8 of them were Fuji, except for number 6. That was a 4x5 Ilford FP4 negative of that I made a fiber-based darkroom print in my darkroom of Deer Creek, Oregon. And so I'm looking at all the prints, and I was like, yeah, these are great. And then now remember, these are 8x10 prints. They're about this size, okay? Maybe a little bit smaller. So we're not talking about, 16x20s or 30x40s or anything like that. We're talking about 8x10s, all right? And that's an 8.5x11, just a luster test print. But, so they're even smaller than that. And I'm going through them, and the Fuji prints look great. And then I got to the last 2, which were Nikon prints. Nikon Z7 II prints. And I have to say that even on an 8x10 sheet of paper, an 8x10 print, the quality, the image quality. And the other thing is with Nikon, that's one of my bugaboos with Sony. With Nikon, those are straight out of camera colors. I didn't do anything. I didn't adjust anything. I mean, because it looked like I want it to look right out of the camera. I mess with the Fujis a little bit. I play with the colors a little bit because they're always a little off to me. Not as bad as the Sonys. But the Nikon's that's what I want my photographs to look like. and they come out of the camera looking the way I want them to look. But I had to look at that box set. I had to look at that folio set, and I had to look at those photographs. And when I got to the last two photographs made with the Z7, like I said, I said to myself, I don't really care whether I prefer to use the Fuji system. I want this image quality, and that means Z7 too. The only thing I'm really losing is that with the Fuji system, my telephoto goes 55 to 200, which is about 80, 85 to 300 on full frame. And with the Nikon system, I have a 70 to 210. So, and it's a 70 to 210. So I'm losing 90 millimeters at the telephoto end. And that's a big deal because I do shoot the Fuji. It's not that big a deal. I can live with that. But I do shoot the Fuji at 200 a lot. Not a lot, but a bit. And so that's not an option anymore. But I'm totally happy with the 14 to 30 f4S, with the 24 to 70 f4S, the Z lenses. And I'm happy with the Tamron 70 to 210. It's sharp. The color is good. It's a good lens. I don't like the FTZ converter on an F mount. But the point is like clearly when Nikon comes out with a 70 to 200 or 70 to 210 f4 in a Z mount, okay, or a 70 to 300, like f5.6 to f6.3 kind of a deal, if it's sharp, and hope, I don't know if I'm gonna make it an S lens, but let's hope it's not a plastic mount, Nikon non-S lens, yeah, but we'll see. So the telephoto, I could replace my telephoto if the right lens came along, but in the meantime, like I don't have a lot of money invested in a Tamron, and it does the job. So that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, I looked at those photographs and I said to myself, if I could go back and reshoot everything I did in 2021, I wish I could do it on the Z7 too. So what does that tell me moving forward? It's like I need to shoot the Z7 too, and Nikon has to be my main go-to digital camera system. As much as I want to shoot the Fujis. Now, I'm not getting rid of the Fujis. The Fujis still have a place. But because there's like if I just want to throw a small camera with some small lenses in a bag for the day, Nikon doesn't do that well. But the ZFC might solve that problem for me, but I've got big lenses. So Nikon's kind of between a rock and a hard place. The ZFC would do it, but I need some of the smaller lenses. So we'll see. That part of it I got to figure out. The ZFC would make a great video camera with the 4x5. So it kind of takes the role. The ZFC is kind of like a Fuji XS10 that doesn't have any small lenses for it. So that's kind of how to quantify that. Okay, the price is about the same. Performance is about the same. The autofocus is better on the ZFC. So yeah, so that's where I'm at, and that is a camera system selection based on a year's worth of shooting. Okay, it's not that I prefer the Nikon cameras to shoot with; it's that I prefer the end results. So where am I at? To sum up, the Fuji, in my opinion, is the best mirrorless camera system that I've shot with. And I've shot with Olympus, Panasonic, Nikon, and Fuji. And I've never shot a Canon mirrorless or a Panasonic full frame mirrorless. But I've shot the Panasonic a long time ago. But the Fujis are my favorite mirrorless system. And the Nikon Z system is not, but I can't argue with the Nikon Z7 II image quality. Oh my God. You can see it at the 8x10 print level. Now, if you don't print your stuff and you're just putting it on a screen, don't get an Olympus. Get a Micro Four Thirds camera. Or use your iPhone. Right? But when you start printing, that's where the rubber meets the road. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's what photography is. It's printing. Okay, it's making prints. I'm old school. All right, and the Z7 II, yeah, that's the bang for the buck, right? That's my mini medium format GFX, and I'm totally thrilled and happy with it, and I think to a certain extent, you know, as this year progresses and I use the Nikon system more, I'll adapt over to it and it'll become second nature. There's a few things that the Fuji does a lot smoother. One of the things that the Fuji does is, like for example, one of the things the Fuji does is when you set like a 90-second exposure, the Fuji shows you on the back that it's counting down. So you have a clue what's happening. Hey, it's a computer. Why can't it tell me? The Nikons don't tell me. With the Fuji, they have that beautiful, in manual focus, they have that beautiful scale that pops up that tells you, you know, you can set 10 feet or 5 feet or 20 feet. You can do it in meters too. It's adjustable. And when you change your aperture, you get a light blue bar that tells you what your depth of field is. That's brilliant. Very few Fuji lenses actually have distance markings on the focusing ring. With Nikon, you can't set a Nikon camera, Z camera, to 10 feet in manual focus. You have no idea where that is. It's not marked on the lenses, and the camera body won't tell you. That's a point and shoot computer. That's a point and shoot camera. That's point and shoot camera programming in a $3,000 Nikon, what's supposed to be a professional SLR. I mean, that's why it's not. Okay, and that's why people want a Z8 also. But the autofocus is really good, and you know, I'm not doing weddings anymore, and I don't really need to set my camera to 10 feet. It just irritates me that I can't. That there's point and shoot programming in my $3,000 pro level camera, but the output is phenomenal. The image quality is fantastic, and you know, that's more of a psychological thing. It just annoys me, but you know, not being able to set 10 feet on a distance scale. But in reality, is it a big deal? No, it isn't. Not really. There are really no things in the Nikon that are deal breakers at all. There's a few things there's some inelegant programming. I'll put it that way. That the Fujis kind of have nailed down a bit. And it's a shame that, you know, that you've got more computing power than the original space shuttle. And yet you're in the dark because the programmers didn't program it in such a way that you have a clue what it's doing. I mean, that's bad programming, and that's a shame, you know. And then there's like the Nikon 28mm 2.8 and the 40mm f2. I think they're not S lenses, and they have plastic lens mounts, and they have image quality equal to the old 30-year-old film era AFD lenses. Like let's hope that changes, you know. Let's hope that every Nikon lens they make is prosumer or pro grade, and none of this consumer amateur garbage, you know. So yeah, but on the other hand, like I said, you know, what's driving me towards the Nikon system is I want to shoot the Z7, okay, because of the output. And I mean, part of that is also that the 14 to 30 f4S and the 24 to 70 f4S, and to a lesser extent, but equally so, the Tamron 70 to 210 f4 are all cracking lenses. Because, you know, the Z7 II can't do it by itself. It has to have a good lens. And so, yeah, and so that's where I'm at with that. I got the fire going tonight because it's freezing outside. 27 degrees, which is -3°C. and it's supposed to go down to 18, which is like minus 50 C or something. Making that up. So yeah, yeah, really shocking looking back over 2021. And I thought I was good with the Fujis, but then I looked, and it wasn't like, oh, I had to really pixel peep. It was like, I flipped from the number 8 to number 9, and number 8, the 1 through 8 were all Fuji images, and I got to number 9, I was like, oh my God. I mean, it leapt off the page. There's that three-dimensionality. Everything is tack sharp. The tonality, just the micro contrast, it doesn't matter. That's what I want my photographs to look like. And I know with the Nikon Z7 II that if it looks that way in an 8x10, I can blow it up, to 30x40, and it'll still maintain that image quality. So that's a wake up there. That's a like, yeah, look, you might prefer the Fuji, but you need to shoot the Z7 too. And everything else that goes along with that. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support in 2021. 2022 is getting off to a rocky start, but it's getting better. The weather, we've got another 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks, but then, middle of March, we're headed to the eastern canyonlands of Oregon that's nobody really goes to. There's a place called Leslie Gulch. I think it's the Oahe Reservoir. And it's kind of like a Zion in miniature, but with yellowish sand-colored rocks instead of the red rocks. But there's a lot of smaller gullies and washes, and it's an interesting place. And hopefully we can also zip down, because it's in the same neighborhood. There in the southeast corner of Oregon, there's a place called the Alvord Desert. And it's about a 12-mile stretch of playa right up against the Steens Mountains. And again, it's one of those places a lot of people don't go to. It's kind of like a mini Death Valley in a way, sort of. Maybe not really. But yeah, you can't really go there past March or April because it gets like 190 degrees there. So that's the first trip of the year that I think is going to kick off this year. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm itching to get out and photograph something. It is bleak out there. I've tried all week to do an outside video, and like on Monday I froze my butt off, and yesterday the winds were howling. Today I tried to fly the drone and almost crashed. I mean, you can't force it, and that's why I'm sitting in my chair, I guess, and talking to y'all because it's dire out there. Or maybe I'm just a wimp. I don't know. Whatever. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Definitely subscribe. Channel's growing. We're getting there. And I appreciate it, and we'll see you out there. Have a great one. Bye.